To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Good evening. The Senate rejects President Rodrigo Duterte's order to turn over former customs official Jimmy Guban to the police. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairperson Richard Gordon says Guban will have to stay in the Senate detention until their inquiry on the 6.8 billion peso shabu shipment that slipped by the Bureau of Customs has ended. Senate President Vicente Sotto III also said in a message that Guban will not be released unless a court issues a warrant of arrest against him. Guban has been detained in the Senate since September 12 after he was cited in contempt for allegedly perjuring during the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. The Senate is also looking to place Guban under the Department of Justice's Witness Protection Program due to the threats he is allegedly facing.
Nagkaroon ngayon ang gobyerno ng testigo na mapagkakabit-kabit, hindi lang circumstantial evidence yung sinabi ko una, pero siya ang nagturo kung sino talaga ang nagpapasok ng droga o dalang iba, kundi itong si Colonel Acerto. Ang nagturo ay si Ginoong Guban. At pati yung mga participation nila Mr. Pardo, mapapatunayan rin ni Mr. Guban.
Customs Commissioner Isidro La Peña has been transferred to the Technical Skills and Development Authority amid issues on a shabu shipment dogging the Bureau of Customs. President Rodrigo Duterte announced La Peña's reassignment during his speech for the 117th anniversary of the Philippine Coast Guard earlier. La Peña, who was also promoted by Duterte to a cabinet rank, will be replaced by former AFP Chief and Maritime Industry Authority or Marina Administrator Rey Leonardo Guerrero. A chief executive also ordered all customs section chiefs to be in floating status. A minor revamp among the cabinet members will also be implemented. President Rodrigo Duterte warns to mobilize all government forces to stop the communist rebels from sowing terror and violence in communities. The president's stern warning comes after the killings of 9 sugarcane farmers in Sagay City, Negros Occidental by an alleged NPA ally group. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has earlier linked the killings to communist group's alleged Red October plot that aims to oust Duterte and to discredit the administration before the international community. Duterte also vows to exert all efforts to protect the country's peace and order and called on the public to never give in to the demands of the rebels.
I'm addressing now the nation and the communists and the law. Pipilitin ko kayo. Please do not resist violently. I'm ready to do anything to establish order. I am not threatening you, pero pag sumunod kayo dyan sa yung mga kadamay na yung mga subdivisions, papasok kayo. I know that you are poor. I know that you want land. I know that you are suffering. I know that you are in agony. Naranasan ko rin yan. Migrants na rin kami sa Mindanao. Pero kung ganon ang style ninyo, you create disorder. Remember what I have told you. Ipaposta ko itong pagka-president ko. My honor and life and even my presidency. Do not force me to choose whatever there is. Di ako papayag because you are eating your own children. That's the thing. Revolutions eat their own children.
The Department of Agriculture is eyeing to use a government-to-government process for the next phase of rice importation to make the transaction faster. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol wants to make sure that the previous depletion of rice buffer stocks in the National Food Authority warehouses will no longer happen by using the government-to-government process. The Philippine government will directly transact and procure rice from governments like Thailand and Vietnam to facilitate speedy processing. The government needs to import around 207,000 metric tons of rice in the coming weeks after bidders were only able to agree to import 43,000 metric tons through government-to-private transaction, as they could not afford the price they were offered, after which the NFA will proceed with the importation of additional 10 million bags from private bidders.
We're still projecting that there will be at least 2 or 3 more typhoons before the end of the year. And we don't want to be caught in a situation where in face of calamities, the NFA will not be able to provide the rice that DSWD would need.
Jeepney operators believe there is no need to delay the implementation of minimum fare increases, which are slated to begin on November 3 amid fuel price cuts. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board has earlier said that fare hikes in buses and jeepneys may be delayed following the appeal of commuters group amid rollbacks in pump prices and projected decline in the country's inflation rate. Pasang Mazda says drivers and operators are yet to recover from high fuel costs in the past months. The group also questions the government's plan to slash the budget for the fuel subsidy program in 2019 from 20,000 to 10,000 pesos to offset potential revenue losses for suspending the second tranche of fuel excise taxes.
Bakit kailangan pambawasan? Ituloy na lang din yung pasada card na yan since nakabatas na yan. Ibigay na lang din sa driver sapagkat mahabang panahon na rin kaming naghihirap.
The Department of Tourism remains optimistic it will reach its target of more than 7 million tourist arrivals for 2018 amid the growing number of visitors. Data from DOT Statistics Economic Analysis and Information Management Division show buoyed inbound tourist arrivals by 9.65% or more than 5 million from January to September of 2018. This is higher by 466 million when compared to the same period in 2017. In September alone, over 71,000 tourists have visited the country, which translates to a 5% growth rate compared to the same month last year. Korea still tops the list of major tourism market of the Philippines, contributing to over 1 million tourists in the first 9 months of the year, followed by China, US, and Japan. A Filipino diaspora in Europe gathered in Paris in a summit that hopes to address concerns and strengthen culture and values among Filipino youths. Jun Garin tells us why.
Filipinos from across Europe joined the European Network of Filipino Diaspora or ENFID in a gathering held on October 19 to 21 this year. Over 16 representatives from each country, or a total of 91 delegates, gathered in Paris to interact and hear inspiring stories, especially from senior members, and teach young Filipinos of the culture, values, arts, and environmental projects of the group in Europe.
I would like always to champion the rights of our compatriots, not only in France but all over Europe. And we will try to do what we can to unite our community in this diaspora of Europe.
The Philippine government expressed support to the event considering the number of Filipinos in Europe now reaching to more than 866,000. Maria Regina Angela Gallas, Division Chief for Administrative and Finance of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, said it is also a way to hear their concerns and to extend help whenever possible.
So, naging strength nila yung kanya-kanyang expertise ng bawat member mismo at ng bawat country. So they contribute to the objectives. One is environment, para matulungan yung environmental problems natin sa Philippines.
According to Christian Estrada, ENFID Vice Chairman and recipient of the 2018 British Community Honours Awards, they are also finding ways to connect not only with Filipinos in Europe, but also with those in the Middle East and in America.
Believe that there's always an advocacy like ENFID that would help you through your challenges and make your living in abroad a success.
Notable Filipinos who graced the event were international artist Tommy Aquino, dubbed as the Picasso of Vienna, as well as father and son visual artist Dale and Aris Bagtas, who performed an art demo. June Garin, UNTV News and Rescue, Paris, France.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. Several high-profile personalities and lawmakers and some offices in New York received suspicious packages that lead to the evacuation of several buildings in the city. U.S. President Donald Trump called the threats despicable acts, but New Yorkers greeted it with skepticism. Here's why from Kat Carriedo.
New Yorkers took in stride the events in their city Wednesday after police intercepted suspected bombs mailed to former U.S. President Barack Obama, former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, and other high-profile Democrats in what New York officials described as an act of terrorism. With the country deeply polarized, the packages brought a new level of tension to November 6 political contests that will decide whether Democrats can challenge the majorities now held by Trump's Republicans in Congress. The CNN Bureau in New York also received a device looking like a pipe bomb, leading police to evacuate the building. And New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat, said his office also received a suspicious package. CNN reported that Eric Holder, who was U.S. Attorney General under Obama, was also among those targeted.
We're used to it at this point. It's 9/11. It's pretty much a routine thing. This happens every few months now. So I just want to get my lunch, go on with my day.
U.S. President Donald Trump condemned what he called despicable acts and vowed to bring those responsible to justice.
In these times, we have to unify. We have to come together and send one very clear, strong, unmistakable message that acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America.
A similar pipe bomb was delivered earlier this week to the home of George Soros, a major Democratic Party donor. There has been no claim of responsibility. All of the targets are frequently disparaged by right-wing critics, and Trump, whose spokeswoman, condemned the acts. Kat Carriedo, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
Hundreds of students gather in Norwalk, California ahead of the November congressional elections. They also vow to make impact as many of them are set to cast their ballots for the very first time. Beverly Saison tells us why.
Southern Californian youths and school kids brought a festival-like atmosphere to the city of Norwalk near Los Angeles on Wednesday as they gathered for a day of early voting and registration ahead of the U.S. congressional elections on November 6th. Many of the students, all from local area schools, were casting their ballots for the very first time.
Yeah, I feel really excited. I'm glad I voted for the first time. I'm going to continue doing this. This isn't going to be my last time voting.
Some others, like Tyler Okeke, were too young for the 2018 elections but eager nonetheless.
So I am 17. I'm not able to vote, sadly, but I will be able to vote in the 2020 election. And in that election, I plan for voting for progressive, bold leaders who plan on sort of not getting rid of our government system, but making sure that changes that are necessary happen so that we can move forward in affecting the people who have been historically marginalized in this country.
Student and activist Paige McGee, who is 21, said it was important for the youth to vote in order to achieve fair representation.
A lot of young voters are people of color, and we have the most diverse generation right now, so why don't we see that in politics today as well?
Organizers of Wednesday's Norwalk voting party lured young voters with free t-shirts, video games, and dance contests. While the midterm elections are for thousands of posts from state officials to governors, the focus is on control of the U.S. Congress. Opinion polls shows Democrats have a chance at achieving the net gain of 23 seats they need to win a majority in the House of Representatives. They have a longer shot at the Senate, where they need a gain of 2 seats but are defending 26 seats, including 10 in states Trump won in 2016. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
The personal data of up to 9.4 million passengers of the Cathay Pacific have been accessed in the latest security breach to hit the aviation industry. Passport numbers, email addresses, and expired credit card details were among the leaked data. Chief Executive Rupert Hogg has apologized for the incident and assured there was no evidence that the information had been misused. It comes weeks after British Airways revealed a major data leak had hit its customers. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Kath. The Moraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Bus commuters in Surabaya, Indonesia no longer need money to pay for a ride around the city. Let's find out why from Leslie Longbowen.
Indonesia's second-largest city has come up with a novel way to encourage its residents to recycle waste, giving free bus rides in exchange for used plastic bottles. Under the scheme launched by Surabaya in April, commuters can ride Red City buses by dropping off plastic bottles at terminals or directly paying a fare with bottles. A 2-hour bus ticket costs 10 plastic cups or up to 5 plastic bottles, depending on their size, which the city hopes will help it meet an ambitious target of becoming free of plastic waste by 2020.
Garbage, like plastic bottles, piles up in my neighborhood, so I brought it here so the environment is not only cleaner but also to help ease the workload of garbage collectors.
City data shows that 15% or nearly 400 tons of Surabaya's daily waste is plastic. A bus can collect up to 250 kilograms of plastic bottles a day, or roughly 7.5 tons in a month, the data shows. After collection, labels and bottle caps are removed from the waste and it is auctioned off to recycling companies. Money earned from the auction goes towards running the bus operations and to fund green spaces in the city, located on the eastern tip of Java, Indonesia's main island. Surabaya is the first city in Indonesia to implement this scheme. The world's 4th most populous country is home to the largest expanse of tropical rainforest in Asia, but also struggles with gridlock traffic in its congested cities.
Indonesia ya, penyumbang sampah plastik terbesar di dunia.
Indonesia is one of the biggest contributors in the world for plastic waste. And through this initiative, we hope to raise public awareness on the environment, especially issues that relate to plastic trash.
Indonesia, an archipelago of thousands of islands, is estimated to be the world's 2nd-largest contributor of plastic pollutant in the oceans after China, according to a 2015 study published in Science Journal. Another Surabaya resident also welcomed the scheme.
We can reduce trash so it doesn't pile up at home, because we can just bring them in and make good use of it. It's a win-win situation.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news, October 25, 2018. On behalf of William Thio, I am Angelo Castro III. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
UNTV, your public service channel.